Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Rabbit House Press Author Spotlight. Today, we are celebrating our latest release, Exiting the Bluegrass Turnpike by Benjamin Silliman. I'm here with Benjamin and Emily Wilhoit of Rabbit House Press, and we are so excited about this book. It's released March 4th. But you can pre-order at rabbithousepress.com right now. And it's available all over the world on March 4th, 2025. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you so much. And thank you, Emily, as well. I am so excited. And that's the first book. I have my copies in my Upper West Side apartment. The doorman has them, 4 boxes, and I'm gonna have a little ceremony on Saturday to open them. So I haven't actually physically seen this beautiful book. So I'm so
It is
excited.
absolutely a beautiful book. And we
Oh
want
my
to thank
God.
Brooke Lee, our amazing designer.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I want to thank me because I edited it.
Yes.
I want to thank Emily for publishing it along with us at Rabbit House Press, and Benjamin for telling this beautiful story. I'd like to
Yeah.
start with the quote on the back, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
this is what author Mark Compton, who wrote The Fruitcake, wrote. Silliman's Exiting the Bluegrass is a queer, postmodern coming-of-age tale with a Southern Gothic checklist of dysfunctional characters and topics. Set in the early 1980s, Silliman captures the culture of the early Reagan era. It is as if Silliman's cultural narrative referenced the official Preppy Handbook of Birnbach, Roberts, Wallace, and Wiley, 1980, and accurately described not just the fashion, but WASP attitudes of the age, quickly giving the reader insight into old money Kentucky. Silliman's prose is structured like a memoir with vocabulary choices bordering on a Racine tragedy. His protagonist lacks many typical characteristics associated with the traditional hero, but by no means would you call Silliman's champion an antihero. Plathian influences and overtones shadow throughout from its opening sentence to its last chapter, while satisfactorily and not materializing the emblematic stereotypes. Exiting the Bluegrass Turnpike has all the mood of the bell jar, is chock full with an erotic Capote-styled doomed romance, and many apparitions of Southern Gothic stock characters any reader of the genre will recognize and enjoy. That's Mark Compton, author of Fruitcake. Well, that's a pretty nice thing to say, isn't it?
It's incredibly nice. I am so pleased, and I wrote him and thanked him so much for that. I'm very honored, and it's funny because Truman Capote is one of my favorite authors.
Yes,
Um,
me
Such
too.
an interesting character in real life, but an incredible writer, and
Incredible.
incredible in the sense that even as a young kid, when I read In Cold Blood, I was so affected by that first chapter. It's like that's where you sort of get the um, understanding of how to open a book very gently, the inciting incident, but it was just so softly introduced, and we know what horrible things happened, but he used different ways to kind of drill into what a character is. And I remember, I think his name, I forgot his first name, but his last name was Clutter. Mr. Clutter was having a cold breakfast with milk and eating an apple. And it was just, it's sort of describing him as a farmer. It described a lot of how plain he was, simple, but a good man, something about being a man of the plains. And I thought that was just so how you could
He's
do
brilliant.
that in your writing.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was just rereading Other Voices, Other Rooms, and and another one of his that when he's in the YMCA, what is that one that when he's what is that one? It's in the YMCA, the character, the lead character is that a Answered Prayers. And oh my God, it's just genius. It's just genius. And anyway, I think that if we just look at the work, I mean, when you think of the tragedy that his life became at the very end and the
Yeah.
loneliness of like Tennessee Williams or whatever, it's like we just have to look at their genius art form. I still, when I'm teaching classes, read the opening of the Streetcar Named Desire, just the way he
Mm,
describes the street,
mm,
Tennessee Williams. It's just
mhm.
but to be compared to such as how would you like to start with reading us an excerpt?
Sure will. And let me find it real quick. So this is from chapter 6, and just to give you a setup, um, Zachary is a troubled 17-year-old boy who is entering his senior year at Henry Clay High School. And just to let you all know that Zach is the protagonist. I did not write this book in first person. And while it does seem like a memoir, there are some things in here that are purely fictitious, but a majority of it, a good amount of the things that happened did happen in real life to me. And to give you some context, Zachary had had a very difficult traumatic event happen the summer of 1981, and the book opens after that trauma had happened. And we get all the way to chapter 6 after having learned a little bit more through breadcrumbs as to what actually had happened to him. Zach is also trying to hide the fact from the world that he is gay, and it's starting to people are starting to find out at Henry Clay. So it's very difficult. Um, and this is, of course, well before social media.
Very powerful
So
opening.
it was all about, a whisper campaign as well as notes shoved in the locker, things that were very, very difficult. This part of the book talks about the culture of Henry Clay a little bit. So here we go.
Here we go.
Henry Clay started at 8:30 in the morning, and everyone had to report to homeroom on the first day. One item on Zach's agenda was to get a locker anywhere but Green Hall, where he had been stuck the last 2 years. Henry Clay had four main halls painted in bright colors: green, blue, orange, and yellow. Green Hall was legendary as being the spot for the children of old Lexington money to congregate. Many came from the Lexington School, a prominent academy with students from coal or horse money, or whose parents were prominent physicians or lawyers. Some of these greenies were quite nice, but the majority was not. Perhaps they are just unhappy, Zach once remarked to his friend Matt. Zach wanted to maneuver through the day without running into people he knew and avoid Green Hall as much as he could. But he had had one class in that corridor. He was feeling extremely self-conscious about people staring at him. And after homeroom, Zach maneuvered through Green Hall to his first period, running into Morris Alden, grandson of a Louisville cigarette magnate who was actually nice. Kingdon, you seem different, skinnier. The two had attended tennis camp at the Lexington Country Club several years ago and were still friendly even though they had no classes together. Zach always thought Morris was cute. He was standing next to Beth Campion, the daughter of the Campion pharmacy chain family. And as Zach passed by, she glared at him, rolled her eyes, then looked away. Several others did not notice Zach or glanced at him arrogantly, then turned away. He did not come from an old money family. Suddenly, Imogene Rosner appeared, standing in front of Zach. When it rains, Zach thought. My God, it's Zachary. Come in for a hug, she warmly said, her arms extended, and then an embrace, pressing her huge breasts into him. Hello, Imogene. How are you? Imogene was a beautiful, well-kept student whose outfits were stunning. She wore a gorgeous Lily Pulitzer bright yellow and green shirt dress. Zachary, Zachary, it came to my attention that you and Amy are not together anymore. What happened? She asked, staring him up and down. Oh, it's a long story, but yeah, we broke up. The daughter of a wealthy Paris Pike horse family, Imogene had a reputation of engaging with a variety of Green Hall boys. Many girls resented her because she had a habit of speaking in a highly sexualized manner, Some people accused her of doing that on purpose just to give boys erections. She and Zach had sat next to each other in Algebra 2 last year, and he liked her. The warning bell rang. You call me, Zachary. I would love to go out sometime. He waved goodbye and made his way to Mr. Pillsbury's room for 20th century novelists. And in a colloquium format, this first period class was quite small, with about 12 students. The reading list was long for a 12-week course, about a novel a week. The first books assigned were The Great Gatsby and All the King's Men. Zach made a note to go to Wallace's bookstore to purchase discounted copies of Cliff Notes for each assigned book. And when the bell rang, Zach exited and walked to his accounting class, keeping his head down and avoiding eye contact. Then, as he turned to walk forward, he noticed standing at the end of the hall near the stairwell was Gwen Ferris with two other girls. She had a nice figure, beautiful auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail with a gross-grained ribbon, brown eyes, and a sweet, lightly tanned face. Her smile was contagious. She too came from the Lexington school, but exuded warmth and had been especially genuine to Zach. The Sorry, let me read that again. She had been especially genuine and nice to Zach last year. She has such a lovely, calm, gentle manner, he thought. Gwen made eye contact with Zachary and began beaming as he walked closer. The news of her accident made his heart sink. He could, she could have easily lost her life, he thought. Zach felt so bad that she had been suffering from her experience. After his friend Matt told him of the news, he followed through and wrote a card to her the next day. As he approached, Zach stopped and said hello to both the girls, Rebecca and Anna, then turned to Gwen, reaching out his hand, which she took, and gently said, Hello, Gwen, hello. I'm so sorry about what happened to you. I've been thinking about you. You look amazing, and I'm so glad to see you. I hope you're doing better. Thank you, Zach. I received your lovely card. Her eyes began to well up. That was so sweet of you, she said. And after releasing his hand, Zach then started up the steps and turned, saying, See you, with a huge smile. The two girls had also had huge grins on their faces. He thought it was so nice to see Gwen. And during the interview last year, he remembered how the two of them laughed about so many things, and deep inside it troubled him that she had suffered, and he felt good she seemed to be doing better, causing him to smile widely as he walked to his next class. She's wonderful, he thought. I want to get to know her better.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I actually, that was all true. That
That
was all true. And even I don't like to say, I like to keep people's names private, but this individual who represents Gwen, um, is in my heart, and I love her very, very much.
you can say your name to honor her if you want.
I know, but I think because I promised the family, I
Oh.
just, and privacy.
So
Um,
you're saying so a lot of the what made you decide to go instead of going straight memoir? What made you decide to fictionalize part of it? Because I think some of the the most dramatic scenes were actually true, correct?
they were. Um, it's very hard for me to talk about it, but I admit it. At 17, I had suffered a horrible rape incident, and which has stayed with me my entire life, including today. Um, I had several years of therapy to help me with what had happened. It's in the book, and it's Zach recounting what had happened to Gwen. And it's very hard to talk about things like that. But I think more than anything, I don't think I could have ever written this book if I'd written it in first person
It
as a
was
memoir.
really, I just want to, when I first read it, I had never read something so graphic of a rape of someone that you knew, some boys that you um, were were flirting with you at where you worked. And so it was, again, just like you don't hear this as much from men, or it's not talked about as much, even though it's happening. And what's it's just like, if a girl goes to somebody's house and you voluntarily went to these boys, older boys' house, and then what trend, what happens is so horrific, and it's so violent. And in editing this, I didn't feel like I had the right to tamp it down one bit. And I thought that was so brave of you, because it happens so much more than we know. And especially in the 80s as a young man,
Mhm.
it's like a young girl going to a party of, a rock star, or whatever. They're going to blame her. She went to the house. She went to
Yeah,
and it's just,
exactly.
and it traumatizes both male and females alike forever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And also I think, you always want to try to get like your daughters to, understand when you go out with boys and, never go somewhere without us knowing where you're not knowing where you're at. I mean, we always need to know where you're at. And there's always these things that parents, but they don't teach boys that. And boys also, like this boy at that age, I had no clue. And it was a terrible, terrible incident, obviously. And is a significant part of the book. And the thing I did put in the book, and you and I talked about this, Erin, is I put a trigger warnings at the beginning. One of the things that I noticed, people get very upset because the book does have um, that incident. It also has an incident where um, the sexual assault was, you know, performed on Gwen um, by her boyfriend. And then, of course, the incident of contemplating and nearly taking one's life and suicide. And I think that, we talked about the fact that it's important this book come out at this time because there's an awful lot of marginalizing of those of us in the LGBTQ plus community, particularly the transgender sisters and brothers. And um, I have a meeting I have to go to this afternoon to get ready to set up a book reading here at St. John's. Um, and one of the people who is helping our LGBTQ plus center at St. John's, she's actually dealing with this whole responding to the what's called a Dear Colleague letter from the U.S. Department of Education to eliminate all the DEI programs. And this is just an awful thing without getting into all of that. But the
I
point
feel that
is,
it is so important. I'm just like into it because it breaks my heart to think about that scene where Zachary, the main character, does almost take his own life. And it's really a miracle. And it was so and you did it so in such a masterful way, bringing us right back to that scene. And again, we're talking about exiting the Bluegrass Turnpike. And I imagine you're saying that when you exited the Bluegrass Turnpike and then you got out of here, got out of the familial drama, which you had, homophobic father and siblings. And um, as all this was going on, again, everyone, this is released March 4th. But you can pre-order it at rabbithousepress.com, but it'll be available everywhere March 4th. But more important now than ever, as they're trying to push us backwards, as especially, the emboldened administration and the people that are in charge, that are trying to, these Christian, lunatics are trying to push us backwards in time. And it was a hard fight that shouldn't have had been such a hard fight, back. It's just, we're in the scary times now, and I think you're so brave. But I want to, and Emily can chime in about these because we've talked about them, but there's also so many beautiful moments of growing up, beautiful love scenes with Jeremiah, and who was a musician at the Philharmonic. And I mean, just such joy, you know.
And connect,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
joy and connection. So that's what I feel like your book will do ultimately, is connect people who haven't spoken about these things with their family or friends, or their own experiences and how they felt, during the Reagan era being homosexual and how that impacted who they became. So I'm very happy we have this book on our list.
Too,
Uh, I
too.
can't thank you all enough for taking this opportunity and acquiring the book, because that's a whole other Zoom sometime
Tell
about.
us tell us a little bit, because we don't have like that much time, and I want you to read again, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your career, what you did when you left Lexington. You're born and raised in Lexington,
Hmm.
Kentucky, went to
Hmm.
Henry Clay High School, and then in college, what did you do when you graduated?
Well, just to let you know, a lot of people didn't know I was kind of a special needs kid. I had learning challenges. It was very kind of quiet. It was something that I dealt with mainly in elementary school, but I still had problems when I was in high school, and I didn't get into any good schools. And when I say I got into the University of Mississippi, that doesn't imply it's not a good school. It's a fantastic school. It's in the top 10 for accountancy in the country. So, um,
Benjamin's an
I,
accountant, by the way.
yes, I'm a
He's an
CPA. I'm an
accountant.
accounting professor, and I'm in my office at St. John's University, which just beat Butler last night and is ranked number 7 in basketball with Rick Pitino as the coach. Imagine that. Everything's a circle, isn't
He
it?
was a friend of my dad's. He really was a friend of my dad's.
And I can't even get in to meet him, and I'm Mr. Lexington. So, um, anyway, I will make this point to kind of tell you where I am in life. If I had- if Zach had jumped off that bridge, what you see behind me would never have happened. I never thought I could have even gotten my degree, but I tried. And then what ended up happening after that is I went to Ole Miss, and in my first week, I had to write a paper for my freshman writing class. And my teacher was Virginia Morgan, may she rest in peace, lovely woman. She smoked these cigarettes in class, and, would crush them on the wood floor. It was hilarious. And she
Crazy that
said,
that was that
she
woman
said,
did that.
Benjamin, where are you? I want to see I'm going to read your paper. And she did. She read it in class, and she said, and then she says, I'd like you to come to my honors section. Now, the one thing I'll say about Henry Clay High School, it was a fantastic school. I had a bad situation there, but it was a fantastic school. It probably better than any educational experience I ever had in my life was Henry Clay. It taught me so much, and those teachers were rigorous and brutal. But I still will say, if I had kids, I'd send them there. I'd be in 40502, and I would send them there because um, I learned how to write. I learned how to. When I went to Ole Miss, I knew things that I was so much more advanced than other kids were. And yet I was always the one who was at the bottom of the heap at Henry Clay. And I kind of like, but they made us minor in English at Ole Miss as accounting majors. I had to take 24 credits of English, poetry, literature, writing courses. I took a short story course. And that's all this started. And I had Virginia Morgan for 3 of those classes, thank God. And I wouldn't go and sit and talk to my accounting professors. I went to talk to her. And She was fantastic. She also had the cigarette slick. She'd hold your paper up and it would burn
Oh
top of
no.
the burn the top. Um, I need to put, in my second book that I'm writing, I need to put something in about her. She's a fascinating lady and really was so impressive and really encouraged my writing. And we were both privately, quietly behind closed doors. We were both liberals, and you never admitted that from Mississippi. And and I voted for Mondale from absentee ballot but I swear I would probably admit I was gay down there before I'd ever admit I was a Democrat.
Right.
Because it was just everybody was for Reagan. But I progressed into a career in accounting. I lived in California. I ended up moving to New York in 1991, and I worked for NYU for several years in a variety of capacities, but mainly, doing internal audit. And then what I ended up working on my doctorate, and that's how I ended up doing a consulting project and for St. John's University because they were acquiring this school called the College of Insurance, which is now our Greenberg School of Risk Management. And so I was one of the people who was on that due diligence team. Um, and I ended up getting a call from our department chair, who at the time, I'm now the department chair, but Adrian Fitzsimmons, and he invited me to teach for him and for the department. And I did a brief stint at Queens College, and then I came to St. John's in 2007. So I've been here ever since, and loved every minute of it.
Wow. So
So,
you've been
So,
in, I'm
oh,
sorry, you go.
what
he's
was
so,
that? Oh,
Emily,
what?
what were
there
you
we
gonna
go.
say?
Oh, I said he's so accomplished. Did I
Thank
step?
you. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
I know, I know.
I know I have 7 degrees, and I know you got to know how crazy that is. I went for 2 more degrees after I got my doctorate at NYU. So, I got a degree in economics at Columbia, and I just my latest degree, I guess, which one's that one at the top? I did it online. I did a master's in public administration at North Carolina Chapel Hill. So,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Your students are so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
Really.
love teaching, by the way. I love being a
And
professor.
and you're going to do readings up there. And I know that they're all
Yep.
going to read your book. Um,
Yes,
so do you have another excerpt for us?
I do. Let me pull it up for you. Okay, so this one is Zachary going to the Philharmonic. Now, Gwen and Zach become these incredible friends, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But he ended up getting some Philharmonic tickets because Gwen was going with her mom and dad up to Pennsylvania to do a college visit at Bryn where she ended up in the book where she ended up going. And so I went by myself to um, to Trancy to see the Lexington Philharmonic.
And I just have to say, everybody, first of all, it's going to be a wide-ranging popular book, I know, but everyone in Lexington, everything, like every other page is something that you recognize. There's something from Kentucky, whether it's Transy or the Lexington Philharmonic or Alfalfas or Henry Clay, just all of this. It's so fun to trip backwards, not to
Lexington is a tremendous, tremendous place and always will be, and is
scene
always in my heart.
and
So,
a scene in the Kentucky Theater is just with Fred Mills. But anyway,
yes,
I interrupted you, so let me
that's
let
okay.
you
It's
go.
okay.
Read
Okay.
this excerpt.
Zach entered Symphony Hall at Transylvania University and was directed to the center of the orchestra section. The Ferrises had terrific seats with a full view of the stage, a large crowd filling the grand auditorium. Glancing at the program, Zach remembered when his mother brought him to the Lollipop concert at Trancy when he was a young boy to hear Peter and the Wolf. The auditorium filled up, many seats surrounding him became occupied. He could see the musicians warming up their instruments. Minutes later, the lights dimmed and the curtain rose with thunderous applause. And as the orchestra played George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, the music began subtly and slowly, requiring the clarinet initially, but eventually erupting into a full-bodied score. Zachary took the sounds and enjoyed the acoustics, feeling so adult sitting in the audience with the cultured citizens of Lexington. And while he was a long way from being well-rounded, Zach was at a place in his life where he was interested and willing to learn and experience things outside his comfort zone. The second half of the concert was devoted to Leonard Bernstein selections, including compositions from West Side Story, which caused him to get slightly emotional. And when the Philharmonic played One Hand, One Heart, it made him think of the memorable moment the previous Saturday when Gwen proclaimed her love on the park bench. I do love her more each day, Zach thought. After the concert, Zach went down to the reception in the lower level of the auditorium, up for free food. The crowd was massive, and the line for the desserts and coffee was long. Zach accepted a champagne from one of the servers and took a few crackers. A few minutes later, musicians filled into the room to applause, which became louder when the conductor entered. And amidst the din, Zach surveyed the room, smiling, taking in the experience. All of a sudden, one of the musicians, an attractive man in a tuxedo, began walking towards him. Zach noticed he appeared to be staring right at him. God, he's so gorgeous, Zach thought. And as the musician got closer, Zach's heart almost popped out of his chest, and he threw back the remainder of his champagne. Hello, I saw you in the audience. My name is Jeremiah Pruitt. The man was over 6 feet tall and thin, with a beautiful chiseled face and dark brown eyes, perfect teeth, and lovely thick hair. My name is Zachary Kingdon. It's such a pleasure. Jeremiah had a striking smile. You're adorable. You look like a Zachary. I do. How so? It's a strong male name, Jeremiah noted. You seem like a strong male. Zach could not take the embarrassed grin off his face. Okay, I believe you, he replied, and stared at each other, admiring. Zach noticed Jeremiah had thick eyebrows like him, great skin, and lips he could get lost in. The silence between the two became awkward. So, what instrument do you play? Violin. I'm first chair. Zach nodded, realizing the chair business was a big deal in the music world. Shall I get you another champagne, Zach? Oh no, I snuck this one. I should have a Coke. Jeremiah put his hand on Zach's wrist and whispered, I shall get you one. Stay right here, cutie. Zach, overwhelmed, replied, I'm not going anywhere. Jeremiah soon returned with a glass of red wine and handed Zach a Coke on ice. They clinked glasses. Jeremiah explained he was graduating from the University of Kentucky with a degree in music in December. I'm working part-time for the music department, and right after Christmas I'll be traveling to New York and briefly Europe to study 2 months with a consortium of musicians. Zach was fascinated, nodding as Jeremiah revealed he was 22 and had big ambitions. I hope to someday permanently move there and play in New York, the New York Philharmonic. The competition is insanely intense. I'll be on the road, traveling, playing, and studying with some great musicians. I don't see myself getting involved with anyone at this point in my life, but I do like to have fun, particularly with really handsome men. Zach maintained a shy smirk, not knowing what to say to Jeremiah's overt come on line. So, Zachary, what do you do? With a bashful grin, he said, I go to high school. I'm a senior at Henry Clay. So you're 18? Yes, as of September, he smiled. He began telling Jeremiah how much he loved music and going to plays. He also told him he was in a production at school. I find you're so cute, Zachary, Jeremiah said again. You are really quite handsome. A nearby table opened up and the crowd began to thin out, and the two sat down. Oh, I appreciate it. You are really nice looking yourself, Zach said. So are you out at school? Jeremiah asked. Me? Oh no, but some students found out. Jeremiah's warm face immediately went to a serious look as he began to nod. Have you been harassed? Nodding, Jeremiah pressed his lips tightly and glanced away. Jeremiah reached over and took his hand. Zach initially resisted, but let him hold it. I'm so sorry. I hope it isn't serious. Zach squeezed his hand back, trying to smile through a pained face. It is, but I keep moving forward. I know what it's like, Jeremiah said. Horrible. I was abused in school. I was beaten up, harassed, scared. It gets better when you graduate, I promise you. Now you seem like you need a hug. May I? Zach felt self-conscious, but he gazed at the next table. He saw two men kissing not even 2 feet away from them. He stood for a hug, and with a tight embrace, Jeremiah whispered in his ear they had never hurt him and was sorry about what he was going through. Zachary thanked him for understanding. It had been terribly difficult, and Jeremiah's charisma and kindness enveloped Zach. The two continued to speak about Lexington, horses, movies, and fun things they enjoyed doing. Jeremiah hated sports altogether. Oh, I'm a big UK fan, basketball fan, Zach explained. I admitted I used to play basketball by sitting on the bench in junior high. I played once. When I got the ball, I panicked and I shot it in the opponent's hoop. The coach immediately listed me. Jeremiah was in stitches, shaking his head. The two laughed and enjoyed gazing into each other's eyes. Zach told Jeremiah he ran track and field and was a strong runner. I still run 2 or 3 times a day, a week, Zach said. He noticed how Jeremiah looked him up and down. Oh, my imagination is going wild hearing of you running track, Jeremiah said. I can tell underneath this nice suit you must have an amazing body. Zach shyly stared down, smiling after sipping his Coke. Oh, who knows, he replied, awkwardly giggling. I would love to know, Jeremiah coyly replied. Oh my God, this man is going to. I'm not going to read that part. I'm going to stop now. Um, yes, that was the
Okay.
Jeremiah part. I didn't want to read that next part because it's a little.
A little racy. Yeah, it gets a little racy with your
It's a little racy.
yeah,
Um,
and I think
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, you know what? It's like um I'm so proud of it, and it's so funny because it with a couple of other books that I've edited, I'm like, well, look what Henry Miller did. They didn't edit him out, and we've got to have our realistic love scenes. And so I think that it really proves to be.
I would say the interesting part about what happens in the book is that um, Zachary finds the most unexpected love at a time when his life was crashing down on him.
Right,
And in particular, meeting Jeremiah just very serendipitously.
right.
Um, and while he was an incredibly important person, he, of course, he goes to New York and he has all his obligations there. And, so there was that relationship that was really building.
That was building and would have continued had, timing. As a lot of people say, timing is everything, and it just wasn't the time. And that was before was this when you were working Zachary the character and Benjamin the person both worked at the Kentucky Theater. Talk
Yes.
about that for just a minute.
Oh my God. Well, I used to go to Kentucky quite a bit, and I went with Gwen, the Gwen character, went with friends, and I, got to, the maestro, the MC, Fred Mills, would always come out and say hello, like he does to everyone. He was so kind to me, and I realized I wanted to work there and I just kept on asking. And he says, well, something opens, and something did open. And I did work there. I can't begin to tell you what an incredible, kind and loving man he is. And I adore him and still love him. I consider him so much a part of my my extended family. And Fred has made Lexington such a wonderful city and been so instrumental in providing a home to others. I call us others. Everyone's welcome there, but especially others. You can be yourself. And I'd never seen something like that. And as a very young, impressionable kid, that was very important for me to see. And, and to be down there and to be a part of people who just so wonderful and so authentic. See, the one thing about being a gay person is that when you have to hide yourself, you're not able to be authentic. And when you can't be authentic, you can't really demonstrate all your talent and share the world everything about yourself. You're always hiding yourself. I mean, I went and spoke to a class this morning about why accounting is such a good major. And one of the things I tell them, and when the firms do accept and hire people of color, women, people who are gay and lesbian, all of us are welcome. And that's important to the firms because they want hardworking people who can be honest. And to be honest, you have to be yourself. And so I was tormented by all of that. And when I went to Ole Miss, I hit it again. And that's later on, you know, um, but that's just, that's part of many of us go through that. I mean, I know the world's different now, but is it really different? I mean, is it really so hospitable? I mean, as we do this recording, um, so I want to keep it. I want people to be authentic. I mean, I've had heart problems in my life because of the rejection that I have experienced, and from family and from friends I thought I had, and people. Not much anymore, but you know, um, it's a very tender thing. And
Mhm.
I'll just say this to you all because I know um, the real savior in this book to Zach. I mean, yeah, Jeremiah was a huge part of Zachary's life, and it was more than just a love life. And I will say to you personally, the person who this was, I won't say his name, but I fear that he's not even alive anymore, and I pray he is. I've never found him.
Mm.
But I will say this, he started the bug in me to be more than I am. He says, "You have so much to offer the world.
Mhm. And he
You
gave
have
you
no
so
idea."
much pure love, no
He
matter
did.
what. And seeing and that idea of someone loving you, it's like I'm thinking about my own kind of hiding things because, in my 30s, I got this autoimmune situation and I was weaker. And as an actress in LA, you just hide. Like people say, "Oh, did you hurt your leg?" But I was just physically weaker. And I would say, "Oh, yeah, I hurt my leg." I was just in constant fear. And it went on for like a decade because I felt like less than, because if you're disabled in any way, you're written off, and it's the same thing that they're, marginalizing people, that I would have to work on Zoom. Now they're kicking everybody out. I can't get around the campus, I use a walker, and it's like if I can't get
Yeah.
around a campus to go saying, it's really horrifying. But it's like when Christopher Reeve, it really hit me. His wife said,
Yeah.
um, something about he felt unlovable at the moment. And she said, "But you're still you." And it just touched me so much because I get so insecure since it's happened because I was, and it's like, but you're still you. And you realize that that's unconditional love. You are you. And Jeremiah, gave you so much confidence. And in those beautiful
He did.
scenes, he really saw you, and he really saw that you were not, letting your whole being, giving you the confidence. And that's hard and that takes years, but I feel like you have fully embraced it now. And my God, look behind your wall. It's like, yes, you have, I mean, you have accomplished, I think that you have really, grabbed life by the
Thank you.
horns and done so much with your life. And this is just I don't know where Emily left. Emily, I think we lost her somehow with this weird internet. But um I wanted tell everybody when you're going to be coming to Kentucky to do your first reading. Again, this is Benjamin's first novel, Exiting the Bluegrass Turnpike, and out on with Rabbit House Press. Pre-order now, rabbithousepress.com. And on March 4th, it'll be available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere you buy your books, all the local bookstores here, bookstores up in New York City where Benjamin is. And we're just going to spread the word and get this beautiful, beautiful novel. Again, thank you to Brooke Lee, who made it, gorgeous inside and out. And I can't wait for everybody to get their hands on this beautiful book.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to look for the date real quick.
I think you're coming
Erin,
out April 24th. We're having our first reading April 25th at a Likely Story in Midway. And that's a Friday from 5 to 7. And that's in April, but then you're going to come back in May and we're going to do an event at the Kentucky.
yes, I have to get it all set up with Fred and get it cleared. But yes, we're gonna do it at the Kentucky Theater. And I'm very excited because to be able to come back to the heart of Lexington, which is where the Kentucky Theater is going to be such an honor. And to be able to read this book
You'll also
is
be at
incredible.
the Bluegrass, as will I, the
Yes.
Frank in Frankfurt on Saturday, April 26th. The Bluegrass Writers Coalition. We'll both be there with the table, and Benjamin can sign the book for you. And Exiting the Bluegrass Turnpike. Um, Benjamin, thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much, Erin, and thank you and Rabbit House Press. I mean, it is an incredible honor. It really is, and I think I'm so happy. In many ways, the symmetry of my good friend Brian Marcy is from Versailles, who I worked with at the Kentucky Theater. I met him for lunch in Midtown in June. He gave me Liz Carey's information at blah blah blah, which is a writers club in Lexington, and I contacted her, and she gave me your contact information at Rabbit House, and then it was a Kentuckian to a Kentuckian to a Kentuckian by a Kentuckian,
And look
and
where we are now.
yes, and you notice I wear my Kentucky blue.
Yes, yes,
Um,
I love it. Oh,
but I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
thank you, Benjamin, and everybody. You're gonna love it, and stay tuned for more. All right,
Thank you.
care.
Take care. Bye bye.